Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the Unified Champion Schools Cool Schools webinar. We really appreciate you taking time this afternoon to join us as we talk about the various Cool Schools options. There'll be an opportunity to ask questions at the end of the webinar. So if you have some, just jot them down and we will unmute and we'll do that. The other option for asking questions is please use our chat function. If you could type your questions in there, we have members of our UCS team who could also answer those questions as well. My name is Mike Bovino. I'm Senior Advisor with Special Olympics Pennsylvania, and joining me is our Unified Champion Schools team from Special Olympics Pennsylvania. And we want to take this afternoon to talk about Cool Schools and the various options, as well as how you'd be able to register your teams to participate and fundraise. Lauren, if you could please advance to the next slide. So before we talk about what Cool Schools is, it's really important to talk about why is it so important. So everybody on this call is a member of our Unified Champion Schools family. And all of you know, as being part of that, is that with Unified, everybody comes together for a common purpose. In Unified Champion Schools, we're trying to promote inclusion, respect, and understanding. We're trying to build stronger interscholastic sports experiences for the participants. We have vibrant, inclusive youth leadership clubs that are promoting those values of respect and understanding and inclusion. So it makes a big impact on the school. You know, through the Unified Champion Schools program, schools become stronger, students with and without disabilities become empowered, schools become more nurturing environments for all students to learn and grow. Students who feel isolated or stigmatized, they begin to feel a sense of belonging and understood. So again, very powerful impact of this program. And as all of you know, we do that through three components: unified sports and whole school engagement activities and inclusive youth leadership clubs. So knowing that it's a very transformational program, knowing that it impacts students personally, as well as school climate overall, there's a lot more schools in the state of Pennsylvania that want to offer Unified Champion Schools. This year, we'll be partnering with 376 Unified Champion Schools in 50 counties throughout the state. So pretty big, right? But it takes a lot of resources and staff support and funding to be able to provide support. So Special Olympics Pennsylvania, as part of our relationship with the schools, we provide all the funding and resources and staffing to support all 376 schools, including your own. All of us want to positively impact the lives of as many students as possible. So we don't want to just limit our growth to 376. We want to bring on the next 100 schools and then the next 100 after that. So more and more students benefit from inclusive experiences and school climates become even more nurturing and foster a sense of inclusivity and respect. Next slide, Lauren. So in order to do this, we're on a mission together, guys. We need your help. So when you participate in Cool Schools, you're raising money really in essence to support first the UCS programs at your school. So that helps us be able to fund your school and all the activities that you do in your school building, whether it's one sport or two sports, the activities of your inclusive youth leadership club, and the whole school engagement activities. It also allows us, though, to use funds to be able to help other schools who may be in more underserved communities or may not have the advantages or resources that some schools have to be able to pay for the program. So again, we always say yes to our schools, and we always find funding for them. So Cool Schools is another means for us to be able to help other schools throughout the state who may not be able to raise as much money. We love that concept that students pay it forward by helping schools out like that. And students really embrace that opportunity to be able to, be part of this Unified Champion Schools statewide community where we're all helping each other out. Pragmatically, if your school raises enough money and meets certain standards, you also may be eligible to add a second unified sport, which is also cool. So there are schools that offer two sports. In order to add a second sport, though, one of the criteria is that you need to raise money through Cool Schools. So that's the why we have the schools raising money for us to all work together to try to support the 376 current schools and the next group of schools we want to bring on board in future years. So why do students love doing Cool Schools whenever you talk to them? Well, they're showing pride and support for their school's unified sports team, right? We're going to go take the plunge. We're going to go run under a rainbow of rain in order to show our support for our school's unified sports team. Students, it says, we're a champion for inclusion. We're going to do this fun and wild thing to show the world that we believe in the value of inclusion. Great way for us to do that. And they use social media as a mechanism to be able to share their experiences. Again, as I mentioned, paying it forward to help their school, but also other unified champion schools as well. And then look, it's fun to do, right? It's cool being part of a team to do a fun and crazy event together. Jumping in a pool or a river or a lake when it's 28 degrees outside is a fun and crazy thing to do. It's also fun and crazy to go run under a big rainbow shower that's created by a fire engine when it's a little bit cold in April as well. Next slide. So we all need to come together to do this. And so this part's kind of cool. So new for this year, you can see it in bold red. So 15% of all the funds raised by your school will be given back to your school. That's new. It used to be that a school would have to raise a certain amount of money as a minimum in order to qualify to receive money back. But this year, it doesn't matter how much money you raise, 15% will go back to your school. If you raise $1,000, $150 will go back to your school to be able to use it however you like for your unified sports team, for your inclusive youth leadership club. You could buy warm-ups for your unified team. You could buy t-shirts. You can do a fun activity for club members. You could have a season-ending celebration. Again, whatever you and the students choose to do with the money, as long as you're using it for one of the unified champion schools components as well. And again, 15% of all funds, but there is a cap. So the maximum a school can earn back is $1,500. So it's capped at $1,500. Now, when you're doing Cool Schools, as you know, one of the components is whole school engagement activities. So we'd love for you to make this a whole school engagement activity. This is a great way to shine the spotlight on what is unified champion schools, what is unified sports, the values of schools. So I went out. Let's see if I'm back again. I keep on asking, am I back? Hold on. Am I back now? Now I'm back. Okay. I'll go backwards a little bit. I think where I probably cut out was that the maximum amount a school can earn back is $1,500. Okay. Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate that. So apologize for the internet connectivity, guys. We'll make this work. So make this a whole school engagement activity. This is one of the components. We want you to use this as a means to shine the spotlight on your unified sports team, on what the Inclusive Youth Leadership Club is doing to promote inclusion and respect in your school building, and get everybody in the school to kind of rally around being part of a Cool Schools activity. And we're going to talk about what those options are in a moment. So what are some groups who could be recruited to go and jump in water or run through rain or pop balloons over their heads? Well, of course, your unified sports team members, the members of your youth leadership club. Varsity athletes, challenge the girls soccer team, challenge the boys baseball team, to come out and be a part of the Cool Schools. Student council, National Honor Society, the marching band, theater, other clubs and organizations. And then, of course, you got to get the teachers like you guys to jump in, as well as the administrators. So a great way, principals and teachers to come and join. All right, Ashley, am I back again? Am I back now? Now I'm back. All right. I think the last part I got cut out on was make sure you include the teachers and administrators as well to come join the fun. All right, next slide, please. All right, so what are the 3 Cool Schools options? Well, first, you can do an in-person plunge. We host 7 in-person polar plunges throughout the state. Now, one of them we already did. It was in Erie. We did that in November. So we have 6 more to go in January and February. So that's one. We're going to talk about that in a moment. A rain rally. Rain rally is when you bring a local fire department to your school campus and they use their fire trucks to create a big rainbow shower of water for the students to run through. It's very fun. It's very creative. The students plan and organize the activity. We'll talk a little bit more about that option as well, but that's done right there on your school campus. And you can do that anytime during the year. And then the third option is a polar pop. So kind of an easier way to participate is everybody fills water balloons up with cold water. You go outside when it's nice and cold, and then the students and the teachers pop the balloons over their heads, and that's their mechanism of showing the world that they're supporting unified sports and unified champion schools. Next slide. So real quickly, this is the Polar Plunge schedule. As you can see, we have 3 plunges coming up in January and 3 plunges coming up in February. All of them have a cool schools component to it. The plunges in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh have their separate cool schools on the day before the actual plunge. That's why you see the dates there. In Philadelphia, it's on Friday, February the 10th at Citizens Bank Park, which is a really cool place to plunge. Ashley and I plunged there last year. That was fun. And then in Pittsburgh, it's at Heinz Field. And Stephanie and I plunged last year in Pittsburgh as well from Heinz Field. So a lot of cool things that happened there. And we'll talk about that in a moment. Next slide, please, Lauren. So when you do an in-person plunge, you form your own team, you represent your school. Look at how much fun everybody's having in the photograph. Big smiles, doesn't matter that it's 28 degrees outside. A little cold maybe in the bottom picture there, but all good, nice and invigorating. But when you go to these plunges, there are fun interactive activities that are held on site. So when you go to Citizens Bank Park, there's a DJ, there's games, there's activities. Same thing at Heinz Field. When you go to the other plunges, same thing. They have a lot of cool, fun, interactive things for you to do on site. And then once you do those things and have a good time listening to the music, having food, and being able to do the activities, it's plunge time. You guys get changed, and then the students and the teachers either jump into a pool of water or they run into a body of water, but a lot of fun. Next slide, please. So the second cool school option is a rain rally. And you can see here, it's kind of these cool photographs. You can see how the students are running through a big rainbow shower that's created by a fire engine. So the local fire departments bring their fire engines onto the school campus. Most of them are done in parking lots. We did have a couple of schools that did it like on a field. They did like a slip and slide. That was kind of fun. So again, the students organize it. Great way for inclusive youth leadership. The students organize how they want to do it. They play music. Sometimes some students get dressed up in funny costumes. They do challenges. So what's really cool about this, what we all love about this, our UCS team and I, is the fact that you see a lot of creativity by the schools. This is like your event that you get to run. It's really easy to organize. And guess what? The fire departments love doing this. I know that the members of the fire department tell us how much they love doing these community activities, which are very fun and invigorating. So it's a good way for community building. Next slide. So and there you go. You see the fire truck right there on the photograph. You can see that the students and the teachers, they run or they walk or they dance through the rain shower. They could do that anytime in March or April or May. It has a pep rally feel to it. And again, they're playing music, they're celebrating, they're cheering. They usually do it the last period of the school day. So everybody can get involved to be a part of this really fun activity that unifies the full school community. Next slide. So our third option is the Polar Pop. Now, here you can see this is one of the principals from one of our schools in Philadelphia, who is a very kind person to be able to say, sure, I will go out in January to do this for you. And so you can see our polar bear mascot popping a balloon over his head. And that's really all it is. You're taking water balloons, you're filling up with cold water, you go in outside when it's really cold, and then you pop balloons over your head. You do this at your school. Sometimes, during COVID, we had a lot of folks had to do it at home, and then they videoed their pop. That's also an option. You can do a combination of things. Some folks may want to do a combination. And then again, as with the rain rally, you could do the Polar Pop anytime. You could do it now in the winter time. Some schools do it in April or May. That's cool. You could do it anytime between now and May the 12th. It's the same thing with the rain rally. Rain rally could be done anytime between now, and the middle of May. So with that, we're going to talk about how to register your teams on our Unified Champion Schools website. And joining me is my colleague, Andrew Cater. Andrew, I'm going to hand it over to you to take everybody through the registration process.
All right, thank you, Mike. All right, guys. So as it says here, for the first time, we decided to put all UCS participation in Cool Schools onto one site instead of asking you to decide whether you're going to Philly or Pittsburgh or Altoona or so-and-so. You know, on the one hand, this helps us from the internal standpoint properly track revenue and better get you the resources you need. On the other hand, I think it provides you a better experience in registration as well. So the link is here. Many schools, I believe we're close to 100, have already registered. But I ask for those of you that haven't yet and are planning to participate in either the Plunge Pop or Rain Rally, please go in and register your team on this site. You don't have to register your participants yet. Some of you are going to do this later in the spring. But I do ask that you go in and at least register your team so we can provide you all of the resources that you need to successfully implement this. All right, so I'm actually, before we continue, I'm going to address the question that just popped up, or the comment that just popped up on the screen, because it has come up a couple times. One of the things that is required is that you do need to register each individual that's going to participate. Now, this is more important when you're doing the plunge, the in-person plunge. If you are doing the Rain Rally on site and you do not want to go through that exercise, although I ask that you do, what you can do is just, you know, have your team registered with your team captain. Just keep you know, some sort of offline records of who's participating. And what you could do is work with us, you know, when it comes to understanding who needs what shirts and things like that, how much money you're raising, and we can kind of work with you on the most functional way to handle that process. I hope that answers that question. I think it came up on the chat, but it's also come up a couple times in emails as well. The second thing is by choosing to do this site this way, you know, one of the processes with the in-person plunge is that we require a waiver. The waiver also, you also have to fill out emergency contact, which we didn't require, I believe, during the Rain Rallies last year. So what we decided on our end, and we got approval from our insurance, is if you're registering an individual for Rain Rally at your school, you can use the school contact information. And then what we'll do is we'll provide you a waiver that you can give out to the students to cover that insurance related issue on your end. So again, I can go into more on that later, but I do want to go through this process as well. So how do you register your team? You go to that UCS link that you see on here, and you as the team captain in this case will click register. When you click register, you're going to see that pop up on the right that says either join a team or create a team. As the first and the team captain, you're going to click create a team, and what you're going to do from there is you're going to want to go through a process that we're going to see on the next slide. So that, you know, there's a 4-question process when you register your team here. Put your team name here. While we recommend you use your school name here, we do understand that a lot of schools like creating some sort of fun team name, and that's okay. There is a second spot in the process where you'll put your team, where you put your school name. So again, team name here. If you want to set your goal, your fundraising goal for this, you can do that here. It will default to 500 otherwise. But if you know your goal is to raise $10,000 or $5,000 or whatnot, you can put that in there. When the students log on here, or the faculty or supporters log on, they're going to see the goal know that, hey, we're X amount of way toward our goal as well. So once you go through this process to create your team, you'll click that red create a team button, but you're not done at that point. So if you sign off after that, it's not going to work. You're not going to be finished. So it's important that you do go to this next page and answer the 4 questions. These 4 questions help us identify your school, identify that, how much you're fundraising, where you're fundraising, what type of event you're doing. Particularly with the in-person plunges, we want to be prepared if you are coming to one of our Cool Schools plunges. We want to know that you're coming and be able to have everything you need ready on hand. So by doing it this way, what we do on the back end is we'll pull everybody that chose in-person plunge, and we'll provide that to the event managers, specifically at Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, but to the others as well. And that way we're prepared when you come to the Cool Schools plunges. So again, here it asks what event you're doing, what region you are located, and if there's any question on with you as to what region you're in, we also list the individual counties. Can I use the cool? Yeah. I'll answer that question toward the end here. So again, if you have any questions about what region you're in, it lists, this will list every single region in the state, every single county in the state. Team questions, again, are you doing the plunge? Are you doing Pop Rain Rally? And then your school name. So if you do choose, this is required anyway, but if you choose to create a fun school team name, this will help us best identify you, should there be any questions or when time comes to get your 15% back. All right. So again, once you filled out these 4 required questions, now you can click the register button. And at this point, the team is created, but you as the team captain still have to register individually, because the site and the team needs one person that it recognizes as the kind of that lead person that can make updates and edits to the page. So there's a second part to this. It'll take you from registering your team to the individual registration, and you as the team captain will fill out the individual registration here. Again, here's the process for that. It's very similar. That's done. So the next step here for the students, you as the captain, you've gone through the process, you've created your page, you've created your personal registration, you're done there. Now, how do the students know to come to your page and register if the students are the ones signing up on your team? So there's 2 ways to do this. The first one is you can send the team link to the students, however you guys communicate with your students at the school. You can do that, or you can send them back to this page. And what they can do is they can come here, and instead of clicking create a team, they will click join a team, and then they search your team name or school name in that search button. And you having created the link and the page, they'll be able to search. So in this case, if you're PA Siberian Icicles, you'll click on that, and that'll take you to your registration. When you do that, you as the individual will be registered under that team, and everything you raise to your personal page will also be put on that team as well. So the last note here says you cannot get to the UCS Classy page from Plunge PA. I think we might be updating that. So I still recommend you do one of the 2 options that we provided here. That said, I do believe we are working on getting a link to the UCS page onto the Plunge PA site, but don't quote me on that. All right, next slide. Yep. All right. Thank you.
Andrew, do you want to answer any of the questions regarding
Yeah,
registration?
sorry.
before
Yes,
we-
I
That's okay.
apologize.
Look in the chat box and before we
Yeah,
open
give
it
me
up.
1 second. Can I
Sure.
use the school address for the players that I register? Yes. So again, what I'd say is if you are registering the students, specifically Rain Rally, use the school's address. And like I said, we can provide you a paper waiver. We could send it, electronically, so you can have and you can send out, just as that added measure of insurance for the students. You never know, someone might fall as they're sliding through, through the hose. Just better to have that backup. I don't recommend doing this for plunges. It's important if you are attending an in-person plunge that you have the waiver checked off on the site and all the personal information for the student, because again, for insurance purposes, for just general purposes, in the event you need it, that information helps us take care of any, be prepared accordingly. Is that the only other question? I tried to register, same general thing. I think, Mike, that's the only other question I see on here.
So it looks like.
All right.
You had one more that just came in, Andrew. Did you want the school's address or the home address for each student? They wanted some, Cindy
Yeah.
wanted some clarification.
Home address. Again, it's as if they were signing up as themselves and not through the school. Again, we're a little more flexible when it comes to Rain Rally registration. If you are doing an in-person plunge, we recommend, and I don't want to use the word require. It would be highly recommended that the individual signs up using their specific information whenever possible.
So, and if I'm just summarizing quickly here, the three options, if they're doing an in-person plunge, very, very, very highly desirable that they're completing the online waiver and the registration. Yes. If they're doing a Rain Rally, they could use the paper form that we can email to them. So when they sign up for Rain Rally, it'll automatically generate a aspect of, we can email to the team captain a waiver. And for a Polar Pop, there is no requirement for any waiver, correct?
So the site requires it because it's all, you can't, there's no if then option in Classy. And what I mean by that is we can't make settings based on the choice you make for that option. So all three options require some sort of waiver and some sort of emergency contact. If you are doing the Polar Pop, that emergency contact, you can put yourself as the emergency contact. I mean, again, it's always nice to have a backup. You never know what could happen. For the school, if you're doing Rain Rally, the school is fine as that contact, including the address and phone number. For plunge, again, highly recommend using your actual emergency contact, whether that is a sibling, parent, guardian, whatever, someone who, again, it's an emergency contact. And yeah, so those are three options.
Excellent. Thanks, Andrew. Before we open it up, thanks. I really appreciate you taking the time to go through the registration. Before we open it up for questions, and Ashley and everybody will unmute in a moment here, two quick things. Number one, with the registration process, if you ever run into any issues, on the website itself, there's a contact information in terms of the person. Please just utilize that to send an email. We have technical support. His name is Kevin Hart, but Kevin works with everybody on our special events team. So please reach out to Kevin. And again, his information is right there on the Cool Schools site to be able to, access. And then last thing before we open up, again, just a big thank you to everybody before we open up for questions. Just to reiterate, so all of the funds that are raised by the schools, if you're a UCS Cool School, 100% of that money goes into the Unified Champion Schools, and it funds Unified Champion Schools. That's all it funds. It does not fund Special Olympics Pennsylvania. It doesn't fund any other activities. When you students jump into the water or run through the rain rally, it's funding your school's program as well as other schools' UCS programs. So 100% of the money that's raised is used specifically and exclusively for Unified Champion Schools. So with that, let's open it up and see if you can either use the chat box, and those of you who are more conversant and would like to ask a question with your voice, we can unmute you and we can go that route as well. We'll just leave it open for a couple minutes here. If people are just thinking through and maybe typing some things in. I will say not to unnecessarily have to keep anybody. That's the extent of the presentation. So if there's anything we didn't cover that you'd like to ask, please ask now or put information in the chat box. You'll continue to receive from our UCS team emails. So far, I know there's been at least 2 emails that have been received. There's a third one that you'll be receiving. Either you received it today or you'll be receiving it tomorrow. And each of those emails has a little bit of different information, but every one of those emails has a step-by-step process on how to register your team, along with the hyperlink that will take you to the Unified Champion Schools website as well. There will be fundraising tools that you'll be given as well that were created by Special Olympics Pennsylvania, our marketing communications team. So look for that.
Can I say something, Mike?
Yep, go ahead, Chris.
We were told through the district, Philly School District, that we weren't going to be allowed to do the polar plunge. I'm sure you're aware of that. Has anybody decided, like we were thinking about maybe doing a polar pop at the Citibank? So that'd be okay to do?
Yeah, Chris, it's my understanding that is indeed the case, that you, again, look for some communication. That's very much of a Philadelphia specific question. So look for communication coming your way from Shannon, from more specifics. But it's, again, Chris, I'll preface it by saying it's my understanding. So don't take it as an official approach.
Yeah,
it's my understanding that the students can come to the plunge and do the polar pop and participate in an educational activity that we're planning down there. That's the latest I heard. But Shannon, if you wouldn't mind with the Philly schools, you and Liz just following up and sending some communication out with clarification around that, that'd be excellent.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Shannon, you're muted if you're trying to speak. I see you're talking. Oh, strange. No, you're still muted.
All right, does that work?
There you go. Yeah, we got success. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Sorry. All right. Hi, Chris. That's a great question. We have been working as a team to try to come up with some creative ideas to make it more fun and exciting for Philly schools to come to the plunge. The polar pop will be there at the plunge, but we're thinking of some other creative ways to make it kind of a competition or something special there. So we're still in the works and we'll have a definite answer by the 16th.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. Thank you, Shannon.
Now, as a competition, Mike, can they just throw balloons at each other? 2 schools across from each other, just like a dodgeball of balloons?
I have no idea, Andrew.
Probably some legal issue there.
But I do have a question that's in the chat box from Penridge, and this really, I'm going to answer part of it, Andrew, and you can answer the second part of it as well. So the question that Jess has put in, do you know when they will close the fundraising? We always seem to have problems with people signing up for our rain rally event after our own deadline has passed. So Andrew, let me just answer one quick question. I'm going to have you get in more specifics. So Jess, usually the reason why there's a window has to do with, for the rain rally t-shirts that the students receive and placing a t-shirt order. That's the reason why there's a deadline. For us, you can donate to your site. We keep the site open all the way. Andrew, this year, I think it was until June. Wasn't it open until June that people could donate money? June 30th, right?
Yeah, so the it's interesting that May 12th date, because I think we have the setting for registration as June 3rd right now. We can change that to May 12th, but yes, the site will remain open until we decide to shut it down. And what that allows is, even after registration stops, as Mike said, fundraising can continue. So money can still be added to the site even after May 12th or June 3rd or whatever date we ultimately have in there.
Jess, does that answer your question? Or if you have a follow-up, go ahead and type it into the chat, because I want to make sure that we're clarifying it. Usually the deadline is really more about being able to get t-shirts for the students who raise enough money to earn a t-shirt. And then we have to place an order in with the vendor who needs turnaround time to be able to get the t-shirts back before the end of the school year. But if you can type in the chat box and let us know if that answers your question, or if there's a follow-up you'd like to ask, we'd love to be able to answer that for you. Makes sense. We are trying to find a better way to close our rain rally. Sign up for participation. Sounds good, Jess. So yeah, try to keep it open as late as you can. You want to get as many students as possible to be able to participate. And for the rain rally schools, we'll be sending you information about the t-shirts and how that process happens as well, in terms of the deadlines for placing the orders. Everybody, by the way, when you, Andrew, you want to talk real quickly about that? What a student needs to earn, how much money they need to earn in order to qualify to receive either a plunge or a rain rally or a Polar Pop t-shirt?
Absolutely. So the, I mean, there's gray areas here, but generally we require $35 per student. So if the student raises $35, they would be eligible to receive a Polar Pop t-shirt. Sorry, a rain rally or whatever t-shirt. The caveat there being that oftentimes the school fundraises offline. And with that, so if you're a school that's writes one check instead of asks individuals to donate, and you give us a check for $1,000, let's say $3,500, you know, for round numbers, you'd be able to get 100 shirts out of that. And what we'd have to do is work with you on those sizes, not necessarily who receives them. But if you're an offline donation, if you're giving us an offline check, we'll work with you to figure out the, you know, the size orders. And what we'll probably do, we haven't finalized this yet, but we'll probably do multiple batches. So what we don't want is, if you're doing a rain rally in January, we don't want you to wait till June to get your shirts. So we will probably pick 2 or 3 times during the winter and spring to order shirts. So if your event is done by X date, you would fall into that first batch or the second batch, just to make sure you're not waiting 6 months for a shirt.
Thanks, Andrew. And I think you made an important point there for everybody. Schools that do a lot of school fundraising, where they'll do penny wars or collecting change or trying to nominate who, you know, which teacher or the principal, how much money the students drop into a bucket to see if they get the principal to plunge. If all that money gets gathered, it's sort of a school-wide amount of money. As Andrew mentioned, it gives you an opportunity to give some of those students who participate, who may not raise $35, but you want to reward them for a t-shirt. They may raise $10, but you know what? They've been trying hard and you want to reward them with a t-shirt. You can put that towards that. So we very much want to make sure that we're rewarding your students as to how that process works in terms of submitting the sizes that you would need. And then Special Olympics Pennsylvania will drop ship through the vendor the t-shirts to your school.
Yeah, and in the end, it's about the average, you know, so it's 35, you know, it's the total divided by 35, and that's what you're eligible for. If you choose to do that through the students that have raised that much money, that's fine. If you're choosing to do it the other way, where you just collect the amount of shirts that average equals, you know, we can work with you on that too.
And t-shirts are very popular. Students love
They
the
are.
t-shirts.
Some schools, we've worked with them very specifically too. So, we know.
And so looking at the chat screen, anybody else with any other questions, feel free to either unmute yourself like Chris did, or put a question in the chat. So wrapping up here, again, more information, feel free to reach out after the call to your UCS liaison for any questions. Again, if you have any registration questions, you'll find Kevin's contact information right there on the UCS Cool School site. So make sure you email Kevin if there's any registration questions. Kevin's super responsive. He'll get back to you immediately and work through that with you. And then again, really what we want to do is make sure we're providing you with the support that you guys need to be successful. If you, as we're kind of wrapping up here, if you haven't registered yet and you've already decided what you like to do, if you want to do an in-person plunge or a polar pop or a rain rally, please go ahead and register now. We'd love to see if we can get a number of the schools registered before the holiday break. It's a great opportunity for the students to go when they're at holidays, to be able to share with their cousins, their aunts, their uncles, their friends that they're seeing during the holidays, that they're going to be doing this crazy thing like jumping into a pool of water in January and February, and gives them an opportunity to fundraise with people at the end of the year during the holiday period. If they know they're doing that. It's also kind of a cool sense of pride that the students get to tell and share with their families, even more importantly, hey, guess what I'm doing on behalf of our unified teams in our schools. So we really want to engender a sense of pride with all of our students in the schools, and Cool Schools is a great way to bring the whole school community where they feel that great sense of pride for their unified sports teams, their unified clubs. So let's give an opportunity to brag and talk with their family members about the cool things that they're going to be doing to support that, by participating in one of the Cool Schools options. So if you have the opportunity to go ahead and get your team registered, doesn't mean that the students will have to register by then, but it'd be great to get the team registered so you can share with your students. Here's the link. And then as Andrew kind of pulled through, talked it through with you about, is there's a means where they just take the link and they join the team, and it's very, very easy once they join the team and ask very basic questions. It's very simple and straightforward to do. So a student can register quite easily. So I was talking for a little bit there to see if we get more questions in the chat. Doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like anybody's come on mute. So I think everybody would appreciate having a little bit of time back. So we're supposed to go to 4:30, but how about if we end 13 minutes earlier so everybody can put that towards towards good use this afternoon for whatever else you want to do. I'd like to, on behalf of everybody in our UCS team who are with us here today, and Andrew Cater and our special events team, I want to thank all of everybody who is here today, all the teachers and administrators and students who joined us here today. Thank you so much for participating in the Cool Schools webinar. We will send the PowerPoint out to everybody who participated today. And this has been recorded, so we'll make sure that the recording goes out to everybody, including anybody who wasn't able to join us today. So with that, thanks everybody, and happy holidays, and best wishes for a very enjoyable holiday season. And be bold and get cold. Thanks everybody.
Okay, guys.